Hello my friends, welcome back to some more StarCraft 2. Today we're going to talk about the news to do with StarCraft 2. For those of you who don't know me that well, you probably come from my aliens videos. My aliens videos got me more viewers than any of my other videos. So you may not know what StarCraft 2 is. For those of you who know what StarCraft 2 is, you may not even be aware of the latest news, which is that StarCraft 2 has been hacked. Yes, it is true. It is true. This is why we must take a moment to smoke some weed. Oh, drink some beer. And spend some time talking about what is happening and what is going on to do with StarCraft 2 and how exactly StarCraft 2 has been hacked. This news is actually not new. Apparently it's been going on for the last 6 days, but I had absolutely no idea because I've just been so busy, doing real life stuff, working. For those of you who want to just know the truth of the matter, the quick answer to the problem is to do with clicking this button, custom. If you click this button in North American servers, as of right now, today, in this moment, your StarCraft 2 will crash. If you want to play custom games, the workaround to dealing with it, and special thanks to someone in the StarCraft 2, I think his name is Leviathan. He's the MVP support. Basically, he shows this little guide, which I'm going to demonstrate here, to getting around the problem. You have to go to the campaign button. You go to custom. You go to melee, and this will allow you to rehost your projects. For those of you that are making projects and you want to be able to test your projects online, and you want to be able to do it with your data mods without hitting this button, the custom button. As you can see, it's allowing me to enter. And as you can see, it's allowing me to reacquire the lobby. I can even give myself a Zerg or a Terran or a hybrid AI. We're not going to actually play for now. For now, that's not important. What is important is that we talk about what is exactly happening to StarCraft 2. So according to the news, hackers have figured out a way to exploit what is called the import image. Now, most of you don't know what this is, but basically when you're in StarCraft 2 itself, you have a special place. It's in the editor. It's called the mod info. Nope. It's in the BattleNet info, excuse me. In the BattleNet info, you can actually put hyperlinks to websites. Now, in my example, because I use this as well, in my example, anytime that you click the links in my data mod, trying to remember where it is. Or maybe it's in the mod. That's right. My version is the mod. I might have removed it years ago, but essentially there is a way to make it so that maps go to hyperlinks. Now it's blank here. It has been blank for me for a couple years, but a couple years ago I had it actually set to go to my Hive Workshop profile. For those of you who know me better from the Hive Workshop, you would know that I've been making all kinds of stuff for many years. This was one of my first ever Warcraft 3 models. For those who don't know the story of this model, it's essentially a export of the Undead campaign window screen. Essentially, when you played Warcraft 3 and you looked at the Undead campaign, you saw the Lich, Kel'Thuzad, and behind him were Northern Lights, and so I essentially exported that model, which turned out to look like Northern Lights, and so I essentially made custom models for Warcraft 3, and those were amongst my first ever Warcraft 3 models. I've made all kinds of things over the years when it comes to making projects that are solo, projects that are co-op, projects that have people helping them out. But back in the Warcraft 3 days, which is when I was more famous, I used to make all kinds of silly things for Warcraft 3, but we didn't call it Warcraft 3 Reforged. That wasn't a thing yet, and we didn't call it Warcraft 3 Remastered. What I called it was Reanimated, and so essentially all I was doing was I was taking models from in-game and reanimating them and changing them, making their animations higher quality. And eventually I even tried to create my own custom race. I even created my own mouse cursor back in the day. This was my first ever attempt at a custom Warcraft 3 mouse cursor. Eventually things started to get a little bit ridiculous with the help of a certain editor known as Olof Mollman. And eventually things got even more ridiculous to the point where they were just unsustainable, and it was just madness, right? Just complete madness. I've spent a lot of time with editing Blizzard games, so this particular hack makes me a little bit sad. I don't know their ideological reasons as to why they're hacking StarCraft 2, so I'm not ready to say exactly who they are or what they're doing. But if you need to test your documents without clicking this button from the main menu, that's how you do it. So that's the first piece of news. That was the first thing that we wanted to do to deal with StarCraft 2, is to talk about the hack, to talk about how to get around it. It's a little bit annoying. Now we're going to answer some questions from the community that I got in private and then didn't answer for 3 days. Whoops. Sorry about that. They wanted to know how to use UI models. So essentially I've created this. This here is based off of the Phoenix UI model. The UI models are located in the Races tab. When you go to Races, you'll see the races that are available, and I invented this one, and this one uses the attribute ID that you give it, the custom, and it uses the default console skin. But people were asking about this. They ask, where is the console skin? Yeah, sure, you can change this to whatever, and yeah, sure, whatever it is shows up. But how do you insert a new tag? How do you use something like this, which doesn't normally traditionally exist? It's just here now all of a sudden, hybrid default. So I wanted to go a little bit further into that. So essentially there's this thing, it's called console skins. If you're looking for console skins and you can't find it, you go down to what I think is interface data, and you go to where it's called console skins. And in console skins, you'll find 3 tabs of information that are important. You have what's called the command panel model, the info panel model, and the minimap panel model. And all 3 of these models have their own custom models and their own entries. Must have already included them. So these things here, there's 3 of them. There's this version here, which is the minimap module, the center console, the info panel console, and the button console. And the 3 of them work together. But in order to actually use them, you have to find their names. So you go to models, which I have too far away. Now this is the funny part. You don't actually have to click a specific model. You don't even have to change anything. You can just click any random model, open the browse window. Now in this example we want consoles. As you can see, I've created my own consoles windows here. This one didn't turn out right. I'm not sure what happened to it, but it's all weird and stripy. And haven't figured that out yet. I'm still kind of learning. The user interface model is pretty weird. Like for example, when you look at this model, it has like it looks fine, but it has a birth model. I mean, animation, excuse me, and a death animation. This is usually used for cutscenes when the user interface disappears to show a scene. You wouldn't notice it because it takes your UI away, and so you don't pay a lot of attention to it. But essentially, that's what this is. It's called the UI death and birth animations. And if you don't get these right, then they don't show up properly, and so they're a little bit hard. So it took me a few tries. So that's why this is version 18. So it's close. It's close-ish, sort of, right? But what's important is that you need these names. So you copy paste each of these names, and then you go to your console skins. You click hybrid default, that's the name, and you have to give it an ID. So I use the ID of console hybrid. And then you have to change the panel. So this here would be the info panel. That's the one in the center. So you double click this, right? You think it's real nice and easy. But then you realize there's no browse button. So you have to go click cancel, 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 and you have to copy paste all that shit, and you have to come back. So it's easier if you just have all three of these in a notepad file and you just go zip, change, zip, change, zip, change. But this is where you use it. So you take that name, you put it here, you press OK. Then you go to the info panel. Now this is a little bit confusing. This is actually the right hand side, I believe. This is on your right hand side. So this is where all your buttons are. That's why it's called the command console. And this is the minimap console, which is the one that's on the far left. And you have to paste this here as well. And to test that UI in-game to see whether it works or not, we select our race. We add an AI just for shits and giggles. For those of you that are attempting to test your 3D models online, this hack, today of all days, is somewhat annoying. It's unfortunate that we have to go all this way around not clicking the custom button. It's a very easy mistake to make, especially when you click it every day. But not being able to click a button is not as concerning as this supposed hack. And as you can see, the UI models, while glitchy and unfinished, do in fact appear proper, as you can see. So it would seem I had not fixed this issue. This is the main reason I wanted to test, was to see if I'd fixed this, which I had not. But it worked for this, so my fix worked for this. This, by the way, is a custom construction model. Credits to Nanaki and Delphinium. They're the original creators of this model. All I did was add a collision sphere and vertex extents and other things so that you can left click and right click it without issue. And so as you can see, the user interface model works. It's based off of Phoenix user interface. Holy shit, it would seem that just exiting, as you can see here, this is an example of what's happening. We are in the lobby. It has somehow managed to get us to the lobbies, and all we see are this mass amount of loading, which is definitely unfortunate.